Hello class, my name is Tommy Hoverson and today I'm going to be discussing the history of one of the world's most controversial plants. Now, weed, pot, cannabis, whatever you want to call it, it has been around since the days of ancient civilizations and pyramids. It has a variety of different uses and can treat a plethora of different illnesses. This begs the question, if the plant has been around for so long, how is it still illegal in many places across the world? Why is a specific amount of the plant perfectly legal to consume in places like Colorado and California, but if you cross state lines, you can be placed in the federal prison? That is because cannabis has a very long, complicated legal history that is still having ramifications today. Cannabis is seeing the highest use among high school students and college students than ever before. This plant has been also a part of my life since a young age. It has shown up in the media and music I listen to. I've seen people go from street dealers to owning legal businesses. I know many friends and relatives with their medical cannabis card, and I have seen people placed into prison for over 40 plus years over a small amount of plants that could fit in the palm of your hand. Today I'm going to first discuss the overall history of the plant, then I will discuss why it was made illegal. Finally, I'm going to discuss why it was made legal in some places and its current legalization status. Cannabis has been around since ancient times and has been used for a variety of different things. Cannabis was first used to produce hemp, which is a form of cannabis that can be processed into things like textiles and rope. This technique was also passed on from early colonists and just spread all throughout the world and is still used today. Cannabis was also used as an early herbal medicine. This was first documented in the 1830s when an Irish doctor in India found cannabis extracts could lessen stomach pain for people with cholera. By the late 1800s, cannabis extracts were common in pharmacies. Cannabis has also been used for recreational use. This first dates back to the ancient Greek historian Herodotus, describing how nomads would inhale smoke from smoldering seeds and flowers to get high. Hashish, which is another form of cannabis, has also gained popularity in the Middle East around 800 AD. Cannabis has been used since ancient times because of its many benefits. However, if there's one thing the American government doesn't like, it's other people making money, especially if it's an ethnic group. Cannabis was made partially illegal in the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937. This was a racist act passed to help arrest Mexican immigrants, and it resulted in the criminalization of the cannabis plant, and it also changed the name to marijuana, which allowed it to be easier associated with Mexican immigrants. Cannabis was made further illegal and listed as a Schedule I drug on the Controlled Substances Act of 1970. Cannabis legalization made it easier for the government to arrest anti-war protesters. This is because cannabis was a staple of the 1970s anti-war hippie. Making it illegal allowed the government to arrest those who were against the war. This allowed the government to further support their own agenda. And by keeping cannabis illegal, it has allowed the prison complex in America to flourish. Because this is such a common plant, they have been allowed to arrest many American citizens, and this has kept prisons full and makes them earn the most amount of money as possible. There were 8.2 million arrests between 2001 and 2010 because of cannabis possession. Even though it has remained illegal, cannabis consumption has continued. The war on drugs resulted in a massive failure, and drug rates are as high as they have ever been. As more time and legislation passed, cannabis became legal in a few places across the world. This was first seen in the Compassionate Act of 1996, where California was one of the first places to allow medical use for patients. The legal status of cannabis has been constantly evolving and is subject of ongoing controversy. Cannabis is currently legal in some form in 37 states. Many states have seen the benefits of cannabis legalization in the form of increased tax revenue and consumer spending. This has caused them to implement it into their legislation. Canada is one of the most recent countries to fully legalize cannabis. Now, medical cannabis is common, but recreational cannabis is much more rare. Of the 38 states and territories where cannabis use is legal in some form, only 17 allow adult recreational use. Medical use requires a medical prescription from a doctor known as a cannabis card. This allows users to purchase from a dispensary in their state. Recreational use doesn't require a prescription, and it allows those who are of the age, which is usually 21, to purchase cannabis from legal dispensaries. Even though it is partially legal in some places, cannabis still remains federally illegal in the United States. This is preventing many legal businesses from using banking services, and is why many dispensaries are cash only. Cannabis legalization is a complex subject that has resulted in an ongoing legal battle. Across the world, many places are slowly starting to legalize cannabis, and cannabis use can only be expected to increase. Today, I've described the history of cannabis, why it was made illegal, and its current legalization status. Cannabis has had a very complex history dating back to ancient times. It has been the topic of a complex legal debate that is still ongoing. Whether you're an ancient colonist growing hemp for your textiles or a medical patient using cannabis to treat your symptoms, history tells us that cannabis use is something that is here to stay.